Good morning. If I could sing, I'd sing rainy days and Mondays, but it's not Monday, it's Wednesday. And Wednesday is a day, we're going to go way back to a day several years ago that I invited you, first time you came, and Jim told me about a mission that you're on. You're on a you're going to get it done mission.
Yes, we actually, this Veterans Day will celebrate starting our 12th year of the program. So it's the Cherokee County Homeless Veteran Program. We are moving to a 501c3. We're finished building we're going to start building our transitional housing shelter down outside of Cherokee and outside of Canton. Hopefully, we'll get the funding next month to finish everything. All the engineering work's done. We've got our first permit from the Corps of Engineers.
Awesome.
And it'll house 50 male veterans, and then we'll have 8 female veterans and 2 families that will be able to support out of it. So,
that is incredible.
So it's been a journey, but there are 110,000 veterans north of. You take a line run across the top of Cobb County across the state. There's 110,000 veterans that basically have no housing programs in place.
That is crazy.
And so we're happy to get there, and we're trying to figure out how to do more for the veterans out here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're working hard at it.
He doesn't sound like us, but he lives like us. He was in farming land all of his life, a farming land in upstate New York. Now, can we talk about the comparisons and where you grew up and where we are?
My high school class was 52 kids.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a county ag agent for 35 years, so obviously if you're a county ag agent, you got to have a farm, so there were 7 kids, so we had a 214-acre farm. And I get up every morning and every night milking dairy cows, and we had sheep for my mom, and we raised pheasants and quail for the state that we released out there. And then we got our money by selling sweet corn on the side of the road for 50 cents a dozen. We give you 13 years.
Wow, isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
So it's it's great. It was beautiful up there. And we're up by Cooperstown. Is probably people thinking about where you're at. We were in Herkimer County, which Cooperstown is right there to Ball Hall of Fame. So we used to go there every year. But it was just like here. It's country. It's people. You knew your neighbors. You never locked your cars. Car keys are on the basement. Stuff you need to go hunting. You just ask your neighbor, can you get in this property?
Yeah.
But the winters are bad up there.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, did you flee there because of the winters? Because we used to deliver to Buffalo, New York.
Oh, yeah.
And every week I would say, oh, God, let's watch the weather and see what's happening in Buffalo. And oh, no. No.
It's like 5 months. So actually we're playing playing school football. The last game we had, which would be either around Halloween, we'd have snow on the ground. And then it wouldn't go until the end of April. So,
gosh,
if you like snow, luckily for me, I got in the military and ended up down here in Fort Benning. And I said, well, I think I like it down here.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about how you became involved in Cherokee County, because we all think of Cherokee County as a growing, wealthy, great community that takes care of neighbors taking care of neighbors. And we find that Cherokee County has a large homeless veterans population. How did that happen?
So when I retired from the corporate world, I worked for companies like EDS and CSC, and I used to be a major account rep covering companies like General Motors and Electrolux out of Augusta and stuff like that, running manufacturing. I retired. My father passed away after fighting with some of the issues he had with mesothelioma, which when he died, at that point the claim died. I told the employer I worked for, I says, I'm done.
Yeah.
I have no desire to do anything. So at 56, I said to my wife, I said, all right, let's figure out what the next thing is going to be. And then I spent 6 months walking around and talking to people in Cherokee County, trying to find out what's going on. And this is around 2015. At that point, there was a big push on homeless veterans. There was over, almost 200,000 homeless veterans out there, and the federal government wanted to do something. And I said, maybe that's where I go, because coming from a military background and coming from the academy, it was that we want to take care of those that served and go from there. Because our thoughts were, when you're in the military, you don't worry about where the next guy comes from. Somebody rotates out, somebody rotates in, and I served time on the East German border when there was one. And we had a high priority. So if someone got hurt, which we saw people get, they went back. We never worried about where they were. Well, now I'm on the outside going, where are those guys that were injured how can we help them? So,
Right.
so we started looking around, and we realized that Cherokee County has a large veteran population, 16,000, so we're the 6th largest veteran community in the state. And I says, how many of these guys need help? Don't have a place to stay. And we started digging into it and found out that, you know, there's a lot there. And we had to fight the government a little bit, local government, because nobody wanted to, and it goes same thing. We talked to the 6 mayors at that time, or the 8 mayors, 6 of them were veterans, and it was, we're not interested in finding that we have a homeless problem. So if you start looking at, and I'm on a state home trust now appointed by the governor that deals with homeless, you start looking at Cherokee County and say, there's a thing called the McKinney-Vento program. Well, there's about 225 homeless kids designated as homeless in the school district, K through 8. Now add the 200 parents or 400 parents on there, now you got 600. We process about 125, 150 veterans a year that are homeless, need mental health. So now you got an issue if you got 700. So,
Wow.
but nobody wanted to admit it because it wasn't there. And if you look back to what the government did when they came back with this, let's solve the issue with the homeless problem, the first 2 cities that came back in the Obama administration said, we've solved the homeless problem, Atlanta and LA.
Oh my gosh, you got to be kidding.
Nope.
And you can go through Atlanta, and there is a bridge full of homeless people.
Under the bridge, there's somewhere around, they talk about 5,000 homeless down in Atlanta alone.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is, the program, people don't want to live down there because it's not safe. They want to migrate out here.
Sure.
So as our program started getting, in grounds, we started adding more features and going forward with it. So we took over Pickens County 2 years ago to support the vets up there. So now we're covering about 20,000 veterans. So, but we're helping Cobb County with a program we're doing for Forsyth County. And in January, 3rd week in January, we will go out again and we will count homeless through the annual point in time count for HUD. Now, the problem with the point in time count, and this goes back to nobody really cares, is only 37 out of 159 counties go out and look. Wow. So what happens is we're leaving money on the table for programs for veterans, for housing for veterans, and because we're finding 287 homeless veterans in the 37 counties. What about the other 132 that are out there?
That's right.
No answer.
That's crazy.
So what happened is in mid-July of this year, we ran out of funding for the federal programs. So we've been basically trying to figure out where do we put homeless veterans, and a lot of them have mental health issues, and the state's not giving us any money for mental health programs, even though they're sitting on a bunch of surplus. The federal government is not, we're not seeing any grants coming out. And the one big grant we looked at 3 years ago in 2022 was, we complained to the Department of Community Affairs that we need money for rural homelessness. Well, they came up with a grant for $365 million. $42 million of that was targeted for Georgia. And when the grant came out, we were restricted out of the grant.
Why?
No one can tell us. We asked both our congressmen and our senators, how does it we got? Well, the answer came back was, they tied us in with Cobb County, so we became too rural for urban, too urban for rural, and they only...
Excuse me, wait. Are you kidding?
No, I'm not.
We have nothing to, Cobb County, and we don't resemble Cobb County.
This is how the politicians play the game.
That is crazy.
So they actually wanted it to go out to the 100 smallest counties in the state, which none of them are organized for any of this stuff like that. Putting together a federal grant takes a lot of time because we do a lot of it just like we do in the corporate world. So all said and done, nobody replied. We turned $42 million back to the federal government.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
That is absolutely crazy.
No, it is, and we complain. We're like, because I went to...
Okay, who can we write? Who can we call? Who can we get involved?
We went to McCormick and to Loudermilk and to Ossoff saying, how the heck did we... Because we were the ones pushing for the bill, and then it comes out, and no one knew that we were restricted out of it. And it was kind of like, are you kidding me?
Explain that to me.
Yeah,
explain that to a homeless vet who's going to lay down on a concrete pad tonight and go to sleep.
Well, and it's the same with, this past 2 years, there's what's called a congressional district spending, CDS, comes out of the congressional office and the senators. And last year, it takes us about a month to apply for it, the way that they're going through. And you're looking for grants that are going to come up the next year. And last year it came out that there was a grant that we could qualify for construction for our facility down here off of Bridge Mill. And we were told After we submitted it, yep, we're gonna get the money. Then we got a call saying, it's an election year, we're taking all nonprofits out. So we're reapplying next year.
Oh my gosh.
So we reapplied for this year, and lo and behold, we were told by our congressmen, who are both veterans, that they don't have access to the funding we need. Contact John Ossoff's office, who the day before just announced he wanted to impeach the president. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, you guys got, we have 16,000 veterans. You can't find us money to do the stuff we need to do, and you don't have access to the grants coming up, and we're not seeing any grants. And I'm going like, we're going out for private funding. We've written it off. But what gets me is, here's Doug Collins' team talking about, he's focusing on veteran homelessness and veteran mental health. The VA is saying we need more shelters, and we're like going, guys, we got a facility here, the only facility in North Georgia that's going to be built, and we support both your initiatives, and we can't get funding. So tell me how
That's crazy.
Tell me how that works.
That's crazy.
So
now you've reached out to Tunnel to Towers.
Yes, we have.
And if you don't know what Tunnel to Towers are, $11 a month changes lives.
Yep.
$11 a month changes lives.
I got contacted 3 years ago from Tunnel to Towers because I know some of the people on the board of directors, and they wanted to come down to Georgia, and we started working with them. And we tried to pitch Cherokee County, but the infrastructure wasn't there. And they said, no, that's not going to work, Jim. Let's do something different. I said, well, Cobb County's where you want to go. They've got the facilities. Obviously you got Home Depot down there, a lot of large corporations. So they eventually selected Cobb County. Now the facility they've got it's an old hotel that they renovated down right next to
Six Flags.
Yeah. Six Flags. Yeah. So, but it's interesting that the town council only gave them 7-year variance to be there, which is kind of odd. So we were down there for the kickoff, and as part of our meeting down there, we had 3 homeless veterans that we took their paperwork down there and said, I've got a guy he's a Vietnam vet who's living in his truck. We need a place to stay. I've got another veteran who's living on the street. He's got mental health issues. We need a place for him and he's 63 years old. Both these guys are over 63. Mm-hmm. And then I've got another one who we need to get in there. Can you help us since we don't have the place? So we're working with them, trying to go through the process because they're just starting to put people in there. I got a call yesterday I was on vacation, and I followed back up yesterday with Sarah from the Tunnel Towers group up in Staten Island, New York. We have items down here that we like to share with other organizations. One of it I can't really talk about, but it involves a Fortune 50 company. And we said, guys, let us help you help the people you're doing with out there, because we want to share. Like, we've given away 78 car vehicles. We're about to give another one Friday to 79th through donations anywhere across the state. So they've agreed to work with us, and they see our program as a feeder to them because they're permanent housing homeless. So they're looking for guys that permanently need a place to stay. Ours is transitional. So ours is to get the guys into the program, get them back up through their claims, back on the street, back into jobs, and any else when we find, we'll feed them into long-term housing down there with them. So,
wow.
So it's a good organization. This is how we, how we work. This is how the veteran community works.
And we elect the people who run all these. We elect our senators, our congressmen, our governors, our lieutenant governors, and don't get me started on lieutenant governor who left and went to another party. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah, it's crazy. But we have the power in the vote. We have the power in the vote. So maybe it's time that we took seriously when we elect these people. They need to work by the standards that we set for ourselves, and that is to do right and to do good and to do for others.
Right. Now, one of the problems we have in the state, we actually with John Phillips and a bunch of others, we've been trying to get into the state legislative process for the last 4 or 5 years for bills we need. Like, we're working with Jason Dickerson right now for Housing for Heroes. It deals with apartment complexes and a program called 3-to-1 rent to income, where if you're 100% service connected, you can't qualify for a place to stay. So you got veterans that, combat disabled veterans like the one in Ball Ground who need help, but the system's blocked and you can't do it because some arbitrary thing from COVID, because people didn't pay their bill in COVID, and a lot of these landlords took it in the shorts. Then you're looking at, we have female domestic violence, veteran domestic violence is an issue that we're trying to deal with. We've got other issues we're trying to get to. I met a female Marine through community service a couple of weeks ago when we were doing the barbecue. she's got 9 years, but she can't get a job as a mechanic because she's not ASE certified. I ran a motor officer for an armored cav squadron, 363 wheel and track vehicles, 18 aircraft. These people know what they're doing, but because the state won't certify her and allow her to do the work, she can't get a job. I'm like going, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
It's crazy.
So, but these are things that we're taking them on going forward with, and you know, and we still look at the state. Yeah, we know that 40% of all homeless veterans have got mental health issues. The state hasn't put any money out. We asked them a year ago for $10,000 for a mental health program, for outreach. No, and if you look back at mental health, Cherokee County in 2022 suffered 6 veteran suicides.
I was going to ask you, that was my next question.
Yeah, so
how many suicides have you actually had to deal with?
We had, at that time, we had 6. We were just coming out with a program. We realized we needed to get out there. We were part of a Sergeant Fox grant. Then we've got into with SAMHSA grant. We got Blank Foundation gave us $5,000 because we needed to do outreach. Since that time, with the programs we do and the outreach we do, we have not had a single veteran commit suicide in the last 3 years.
That's awesome. That's
so
awesome.
that we know we have 3 guys we're worried about right now because there's chronic issues with mental health there. But getting the stuff out here, and the toll was bad. There was a Marine sergeant who committed suicide up here in Ball Ground, or not Ball Ground, but Jasper a couple of years ago. Left
I remember.
Wife, 2 small kids,
I remember.
and she can't get insurance because she's high risk because of her husband's suicide. We can't afford to have that happen. And
No.
Right now, with Georgia right now is the #1 state for female veterans. We have the largest population of that. We are in the top 5 in the nation for overall veterans. We have somewhere around 750,000. But it's like where is the state to help us?
No.
No, and
But
the
we
VA.
need to move. Oh, wait, we got a call coming in. Hello? Yeah. Oh, no. How did you know he was here? Oh, okay. I don't even think I told anybody on Facebook. Okay, hold on just a minute. Yeah, you can talk to him. And if you're calling from D.C., you got to have some power, right? Let's see what you can do for us.
Hey, thanks for calling. We were reaching out to Doug Collins and trying to get talk about funding for the programs we've got. So we've got several issues to deal with. One is the fact that the VA in Atlanta is still rated after 15 years the worst VA in the nation. We need to find out why in his backyard he's not complaining more about that. And we need the funding for programs that we can get out here for veterans. We haven't seen any grants or anything out in the last 2 years. We can't get local funding or state funding. It's got to come from the federal. All right, not a problem. Get back to me and let's set a meeting up and we'll go from there. All right, thanks.
Well, I'm so glad they called because, word of mouth. We need to call our congressmen, call our senators, call everybody who could make a difference. Because just like Tunnel to Towers, when you see that $11 a month, $11 a month. Do you know how many houses they have built since the time of 9/11?
They've built a bunch. They have a city they're building down outside of Tampa. They built some stuff on the VA facility out in California. Their goal is to put something in every state, and they're doing it. And this is all through private funds. And they've actually picked up where the Wounded Warrior program faltered. When they went through and spending more money on programs, internally marketing programs and focusing on veterans, they lost about 60% of their sponsorship. I'm glad to see Frank and his team pick it up on the other side.
And just to watch the commercial, I mean, I'm a Vietnam era girl, and one day somebody from heaven's going to call me. His name is John Delbert Swan. He was the only son of a wonderful family. They were missionaries, and he was called to duty in Vietnam. He lasted 6 weeks. Lasted 6 weeks. And I always wonder, I used to babysit his little girl, and before we went to Vietnam, I babysat for them. And I just thought about what was Terry Lena Swan's life like because her father wasn't there. And I know from heaven her father's watching over her. But when we think about the era I grew up in, we didn't give them the welcome home they deserved.
Right.
We didn't give them the help they needed. We dropped the ball a long time ago. This isn't new stupidness.
No.
This is old stupidness.
Yeah, when I was at the academy at West Point, our instructors were from the class of 66 and 67. So there's a book out about the class of '66 at West Point. They went from graduation to Ranger School to Vietnam, and they suffered massive casualties for what they came into because no one was ready to go through. And there are a few other books that are out there to talk about what goes on because I'm a military history more of World War II, but my class advisor was Omar Bradley, 5-star general.
Wow.
And I got to meet Mark Milley was a friend of mine who we went to officer basic together, and Marty Dempsey and I served as captains when we were 10th Cap. So there's two of the chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff that I know personally from years that are still friends of mine.
That is crazy.
But it's a small world. And I've got 4 other brothers that served in, 2 in the Marines, 1 in the Navy, and 1 in the Army. So that's because growing up in the '70s up in upstate New York, you couldn't, price of milk went down. Tractors were very expensive. You couldn't make money as a farmer unless you had a 1,000-acre farm, and it just wasn't going to work for us going forward. So that's where the military was our way out.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Now, when we look back on Agent Orange was one of those things that nobody spoke about. Everybody forgot it. I can't tell you how many friends I have seen who just came down 4 weeks later, gone. Agent Orange, every single time. But there's money that hasn't been funded for them.
No, but the shame of Agent Orange is this. You go back to Vietnam era vets, and there's a number here that are afflicted with leukemia and things like that. They filed 50 years ago trying to get stuff. If you turned around and filed, and for those who don't know, Monsanto was the company that created the whole thing around DDT and stuff they got into. That plant was over by Fort McClellan, Alabama. Fort McClellan has now been since closed because it's basically polluted. But if you turned around and sued the Monsanto right now for the weed killer they've got, you can get a claim taken care of in basically a year. So these guys have been waiting 50 years, fighting the VA system, which for us as a service officer, it can take 8 years to get a claim through. And if you miss the meeting twice, and you think of homeless guys, don't have a phone, which is what they really need to talk to them. If they miss 2 appointments with the VA, their claim is canceled. And a lot of these people we deal with that are homeless have got claims in the system.
If you're homeless, how are you going to charge your phone?
They
go into a restaurant or a public facility and use a plug-in?
If you want to see how they do it, go down to where 92 and 75 intersect. There's a gas station right there. There's an outdoor plug. If they have the charter, they try to do it. They walk in, and if it gets real cold, you walk into a couple restaurants. Waffle House is a good example. They let them sleep there at night because it's too cold.
Wow.
So this is where we find, but what's happening now is when we go out and finding these things is, we know that the system is going to be rigged behind them. For instance, in Woodstock, we knew a couple houses that were abandoned up off the street. We always find somebody there. Well, when the reports come back of where we find them, the city council demolished them. Same thing with other areas. There was I thought an interesting place where 75 and 92 came together. Just off the ramp, there was a makeshift compound in there, probably 6 or 7 vets in there, or homeless in there, 3 or 4 were veterans, right off the 75. The state trooper barracks knew about it because I talked to them. DOT found out about it. They came and cleaned the whole thing out. So it's like squeezing a balloon. These people were going to go. Now they're across the street behind, another restaurant that's out there. And people help these guys, even though the corporations tell them, no, you can't give them food, you can't give them that. And that's,
People take money out of their pocket and do it.
They do. But the thing is.
And once again, you're looking at personal donations.
Yeah.
So as a person, we can all make a change.
Yeah, but never give a homeless person money because you have no idea if they're going to use it for drugs or alcohol. So that's the thing we tell them. There's a thing you can do, and if you want to contact us, we'll tell you how to do it. We put homeless bags, doesn't matter if it's a veteran or non-veteran. You take a gallon bag, we can tell you what materials to put in there, but we just finished building with Kimberly Clark 150 backpacks we do every fall for the homeless. It's got hats, gloves, and warmers, and then it's got enough supplies in there to last 48 hours, food and stuff like that. Because again, they need somewhere to go. They're going to use a rest stop in a gas station. They're going to use somewhere else if they can to get out of the cold. But they need to have their hands free. That's why we give them the backpack. But again, getting into the coat drive, we give gently used coats to homeless because, if you're a homeless person, you get a brand new coat, I guarantee you within a day.
You
You've either
sell it.
stole it, traded it, or it's been taken from them. So, these guys need coats. They don't need brand new coats, but that's what we're looking for is going forward. They just need to be worn because if you
Last,
look at
I think year before last, ETC, I just called and one of the ladies said, hey, I saw near you're getting coats for the veterans. And I said, yeah. And she called and we picked up a ton just from our company alone. So every company watching us today, every business watching us today, if you have 5 employees, 10 employees, 12 employees, that's 12 coats right there.
Yeah, 12 coats, and get a hold of. And we partner with air exterminators, and they partner with what they call the veteran pest groups, which could be other exterminator. But call them, take it to their location, and what they do is we backhaul it back to their warehouse in Woodstock. And then the week of December 8th, it's going to be the 9th or 10th. I'm waiting for Chad to get back to me which one it'll be. We will sort, pack, and have groups pick up those coats. And last year we did 8,000 coats.
It's crazy.
And
your goal was 10,000.
They told me the goal was 10,000. I'm like, here we go. And I just got an order for 2,000 coats yesterday.
Wow.
But last year, you think of the hurricane that came through, so we were shipping coats to North Carolina, Tennessee, down south, anywhere we can get to where people need a coat, we're going to get to them because the way this whole thing started was, you talk about hometown. There was a Navy vet in Waleska who had small kids and didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. We do an adopt a vet program for low-income families, so they have the ability for Christmas that they can have a Christmas, but they give us the names of the children and what they're looking for, and they're not looking for cars, they're not looking for computers
or a PlayStation 6 or whatever.
This little girl gave us a list of 2 items she wanted, and one was a new coat because she never had one, and she wanted a picture of her class to give her grandmother. And when that came to us, we said, whatever this has got, there's other people out there that need this. This is how we're going to start this program going forward. So that's, it's one of those, they don't, it's amazing how these people don't ask for the world. They're just asking for basic things that they need. And that's how we started this program.
That's crazy.
And
the simplest. The simplest,
yeah. Absolutely the simplest. And especially at the holidays, we have a high risk of mental health issues from Thanksgiving through basically middle of January because of the holidays, and people see the things that they can't afford or wish they could do and couldn't do. So for us, it's a big time of
year.
Or
one of my things, and I tell people this all the time. There's somebody sitting at home alone today who hasn't even had a meal with anybody in forever. Pick up the phone and call somebody who lives alone, who doesn't get to go out for a meal, who would just like to have conversation over a sandwich. Just keep it simple. There's so many simple things you can do to make a difference.
And even the assisted living facilities. So Cherokee County has 25, adult assisted living. You got, that are all over the state. There's over 350 veterans that are living in those. Some of these veterans are World War II vets. Some of these are amazing stories because we interviewed all the World War II vets and got them on video before they passed away. But basically, no one visits them. So, if you want to, and COVID was a problem because they shut a lot of them down, so no one got in. So we're trying to figure out if they're going to be open.
People forgot now.
But they're forgotten. Yeah. So, and we just put a friend of mine in a nursing home. I've known him for 25 years, but he has now got issues with dementia stuff that But he's a guy. Someone needs to go up and say, thanks for your service, and we'll give him socks. And something just to spend a little time with them, just so they know they're taken care of.
Yeah. 2 years ago, I was gathering things to do goodie bags for a nursing home. And I was pumping gas at the gas station in Ball Ground, and a guy said, hey, what you up to? And I said, well, I'm going to pack these bags. And I opened my car and kind of showed him what I was doing, and he handed me $200. And he said, go buy more. And I said, thank you so much. Yeah. And then somebody else brought me $100, and somebody else brought me $100. And I was like, that's all it takes, is to be a good neighbor, and a good neighbor will appear. All of a sudden, I had help.
Yeah, no, we're announcing today in the paper and going forward. So because of the EBT rollout, there's 1.8 million veterans, active duty veterans that aren't able to now get food. So we have a food pantry down at Post 45 in Canton. And we're now opening that as of Monday to active duty military personnel. Because we know that there are families out there. I mean, we had a vet call us a couple weeks ago who had lost his job, was behind in rent, and he's got 6 kids to feed. And we're like, all right, come over tomorrow, we're going to take care of you, we'll pay this so you don't get evicted. While he's out, and now he's got a new job. But that little gap, is amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
But those people need to come out and say, veterans are all the same. We don't care if you're a Marine Corps, Air Force. We may, tell the Marines we got to get crayons for them because they don't know how to write. But, but we're all the same thing. All of us have went through. I mean, I can remember when I was a troop commander that having a wife of one of the troopers we had come in and says, we haven't had food in 3 days. And my husband, is wanting to go out with the boys and do it, which is, typical happens. And at our unit, we don't do food banks at the unit level. So we're having to go to the chaplain to find out if the food locker's got food they can give them or something else. Or luckily we had a slush fund in the motor pool that we did for, selling sodas to get guys haircuts who couldn't afford them. But, we ended up having to send her back home to Kansas because the husband wasn't going to take care of the wife and child. And that, and that's tough for us to do, especially when at that point you're 22 years old and you've never gone through this because you're not married and you're like, how does this happen? It happens. We see a lot in the military. So,
it happens.
Yeah.
Well, this morning on Fox, I saw that the cars to the Tunnel to Towers thing. Okay, how did that come about? And I know I know there's another place that does that.
Yeah, Cars for Kids does it, and other ones. So American Legion does it as well, but so there's a couple different.
If somebody has an extra car, maybe your husband passed away, it's an older car, but it still works well. What do you do?
So there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can call one of them. That money will they put the car in auction, and then that money goes back into offset program costs that they have. The one we do is we had a veteran come to us who was 100% service connected. He couldn't work. He's in a wheelchair, wife and 3 kids, had a house, no way of affording another vehicle when his truck of 20 years rolled over. And we're like, why aren't these programs giving people cars? Why are they selling the cars and going back in?
Right.
So we decided let's change the program and say let's find vehicles. We work with Patriot Towing, who's a veteran-owned business. We work with Christian Brothers Automotive on getting the vehicle certified. And then we'll give it to them for $1. So you donate a car to us, you get the tax write-off. We pay for the repairs that we think are necessary in a vehicle. We won't do everything. And then, we will give you, as long as you have an insurance and a valid driver's license, and you pass our vetting, which we've had more people pass out in vetting because you have to be 70% or higher service connected because you don't make enough work. You have to be we just gave one to a veteran with small kids because they need a vehicle to get around. He's got an autistic child and he needs to get it to a doctor. We have another one we gave whose daughter has to go to Erlanger because she has seizure disorders. So to get her from Canton to Erlanger, you have to have a car. There's no rail station or bus is going to get you there.
Right.
So we gave him a car. And the last one is a homeless veteran who needs a vehicle to go to work. We've given vehicles all over the state, and some of the ones we had a Navy veteran over in Gwinnett County that was walking 2 miles to the bus to get to the job. We had another one that was walking 10 miles. He had a car, car died. He then was riding a bike. He got hit with a bike, but he was still, hitchhiking to go to work.
Yeah.
And he had a wife and 3 kids.
Yeah.
So, those guys are like, this is the kind of person we want to give a vehicle to.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. So we actually give the vehicle to them, and we have to charge $1 to make it a legal transaction for a nonprofit. So
I love it.
But so these cars, these cars may have anywhere from 150 to 300,000 miles on it.
That's okay.
But these guys aren't driving cross country. They needed to get to work. They needed to get to other places. And the difference is, as we watch these guys, we gave a Navy vet a car who was working for $7.98 in a Burger King. Once he got a car, he went to a $35 an hour job doing a CDL. Because you think of Cherokee County, we have 10 cement plants.
Yeah.
And they're looking for truck drivers.
They're all looking for drivers.
They are.
Yeah,
they
that
are.
is
So
awesome.
the difference of $7.98 versus $35 an hour, that's now you got a living wage. Now you can do the things you need to do. And that's why we do what we do.
That's amazing. Well, Trace has fixed a little special. I haven't seen it yet, but it's a couple minutes long. We're going to share that with y'all. about homeless vets, and then we're going to do a commercial break, and then we'll be back.
Whether you're in the mood for chicken strips, a delicious burger, our classic banana split, or an upside-down thick blizzard treat, we've got you covered. Hot and fresh food every day, every time, and delicious DQ soft serve make the perfect pair at your favorite place. Not fast food, fan food fast. Your Blue Ridge, Ellijay, and Jasper Dairy Queens are your meet, eat, and treat headquarters.
Thank you for choosing DQ. How may I serve you?
If you or your business are looking for local advertising opportunities, we have sponsorships available for new programming coming soon on ETC3. Contact us at 706-697-5591.
See us anytime you can.
Whether you're swimming in the sea or splashing in the pool, making a masterpiece, or just making memories, writing a great American novel, or writing your term paper that's due tomorrow. Whatever you do in life, Farmers is here to protect it. For all your insurance needs, call Donald Curtis in Blue Ridge.
Okay, if you're a deer hunter and you show up in my backyard. You could have killed one of 13 deer last night. We've got a little video we're going to share with y'all. We also have beautiful photos, and these belong to a dear precious lady in Jasper. She's been hiking a lot lately. But this, y'all, this is the backyard. There were 13 deer in the backyard. And I'm like, then why aren't we having tenderloin and biscuits and gravy for breakfast? What's going on? Can you not get out there and just wrestle one of these? They were so close to the back door, a total of 13 deer. But many of them were tiny ones. I didn't know that they gave birth during the winter months. I would have thought that they give birth during spring, like smart cows. They give birth during spring. But it was crazy. 13 deer, and this is right behind Lot 13 at Malone's Pond. So I guess that we have a lot of acorns in the backyard, and I reckon they thought it was supper time. Granny must have called and said, "Hey, Yun, supper's ready," and they came. So
they're part of the welcoming committee.
Yeah, that is so cool. It's so cool. We have had fox back there, and this is thank you to everybody who supported the Pickens County softball girls, who really exceptional team. And this was them as they were honored, and folks were standing out in town giving them a good send-off, and I don't know how they did, but congratulations to them. Now, if you're looking for fall photos, I haven't found many lately. That's one little tree with a little bit of color, and then I found a couple more trees with a little bit of color, but maybe the rain and then the sun coming back out will bring us a little bit more color. But if you're looking to hike, please do not go hiking alone. Take a friend. Hire somebody to go with you if you don't have any friends who like to hike, but do not hike alone, because you could fall, you could get hurt, or worse than that. What happened to Meredith Emerson was a tragedy right here in the North Georgia mountains. She was abducted, and we know the story. She was murdered, but this is a beautiful place. I don't even know where it is, but I'm going to share it because I'm going to go back and see what Trina says about this place. But it's so beautiful. So they did have a little bit of color, and I think this is over near Chatsworth, but just a beautiful area. Get out and enjoy these woods. Is that not the coolest thing? That's like Rocky on top of the mountain. That is so cool. That is so cool. But a little bit of color and just beautiful scenery, but please remember, do not do it alone. I don't know how that girl got out there on that rock. I'd have fell and busted something for sure. So that is so cool. That is so cool. Just beautiful. Take advantage of these beautiful mountains, whether you go to Fort Mountain or to Amicalola Falls or up to Tallulah Falls. Be cautious, be careful, and please do not hike alone. Take a friend, and like Meredith, she had her dog with her, but that didn't happen when this violent, awful person abducted her and sadly killed her. It was terrible, but again, take a friend with you, and take a friend in the number 45 too. You might take one of them with a few bullets. So isn't that gorgeous? That is so pretty. Well, I got to remind you, it is coat drive time. Now, we've talked about it a little bit today. I'm going to drill it into your heads. Everybody can go to their closet and get one coat.
Yep.
And remember, we don't want new coats with tags on them because, again, it causes problems. And if you don't have coats in your closet, which I find hard to believe, everybody has coats in their closets, go to Goodwill and buy 20. Go to a thrift store and buy 20 and make it a donation. You know, keep your receipt and use it as a donation. There are coats available, and there's no excuse for a vet in Cherokee County being cold for the winter. It just can't happen.
No.
It just can't happen. Now, what about a warming shelter as the cold temperatures come? Is there something like that?
Well, there used to be one with Action Church down in Canton.
Right, I know
when it got to be 32 degrees or lower.
Right.
But now that the city of Canton has taken over that facility, there's nothing there. So warming shelters there'll probably be something with, I think a couple of churches will do something for a warming shelter. But if it dips below and if you are really cold, don't sleep in your car. It's not a good thing to do. When go to the nearest Waffle House, ask them. They will allow people to to stay in there just to get warm. So that's where you want to go to. Places will put it out ahead of time where you're going to have warming shelters going for it. But I know there's a Baptist church down in Woodstock that will open up a certain period of time, but it's all depending on the weather. Now, we do the coats, which I think find kind of interesting. We started looking at a coat drive. I don't know how people can do a coat drive in January and February.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. But if you look at what's happened in the last couple of years, we always give our coats out before, first week in December, second week, because Christmas for the last couple of years here, and I'm telling you, I'm coming from an area where it used to be 20 below in February.
Yeah.
It's cold out there, and these guys need coats. That's why we get them out ahead of time so that they can have the coats for the holidays, because Christmas is always going to be cold.
And I'm going to throw something at all of you. If you go through a drive-through 4 times a month, you will spend $100. If you go to a thrift store, you can buy 12 coats for about the same amount of money, and you can donate, and you can share, and you can give warmth, and you can give a better feeling for somebody who's out there struggling.
Yeah, and we have a couple other organizations, the knitting organizations, like I know Lake Arrowhead, the ladies up there have a knitting group. There's a couple other ones. So if you have old hats or gloves, not baseball caps, we're talking crew hats, and even hand warmers, we give those out, because we just, in the backpacks we built, we put those in there. We never get enough of them, but as we get them out, we give them out to people, because again, from the military times, where you're going to get cold is the earliest is going to be off your head, or it's going to be off your hands. So if you can keep those warm, then you're going to maintain body heat.
And again, I was whining on the way up to work, and I was so mad at myself because I knew you were going to be on, and I'm like, my car's not warming up fast enough. My hands are cold. And I thought, just shut up. What are you thinking? You're stupid. I gave myself a speech. I think I listened and I took it to heart. When we look at the children, over 200 children are living homeless and going to school. That is something that should never happen in America.
No.
It should never happen in America.
And Cherokee County is one of the lucky ones, because Forsyth County has over 800.
That's crazy.
And this McKinney-Vento is a special way how the schools identify these people as homeless. And it's interesting that we're trying to be proactive and out there. So things like, the state has the EBT food stamp. Why can't you give us the names of the veterans around food stamps so we can help them out? Can't do it because of privacy.
Wow.
We can't get because of Title I in the school districts, they can't give us the names of who the low-income families are because, again, Title I, you can't get the information. Then you're getting into, the veteran side of the house, the VA. Well, we don't know where all the veterans are at because the VA won't tell us. So how do we be proactive when our hands are tied behind our back? And we've talked this with the commissioners, a couple different commissioners saying, help us help these guys, because we can't find them unless they come to us. I mean, you look at Cherokee County, 16,000 veterans. We may know where 5,000 are because of the American Legion, VFWs, and things like that.
Right.
Where are the other 15, 16,000? We don't know. We don't know.
Well, I tell you, I let you listen to something that Will Cagle did, and I hope that as our new commissioner, he is going to do a great job. I just see him being involved in good stuff. And so maybe you can reach out to him, and maybe he can be that avenue, because we elected him because he's kind of basic, down to earth, the solid core of the earth. He's just basic good guy. And maybe that's what we need to look at for politicians.
That'd be good.
Maybe we don't need to look at polished and primed and all that stuff.
Right.
I'm thinking just a basic good common sense. And that's what we need to be choosing, and that's what we need to be electing.
Yeah, and we're trying to change the realm a little bit too, because one of the things that veterans always deal with is local communities say you're federal, state says you're federal, federal says you're not unionized, we don't care about you. That's kind of the way we look at it, because only 1% of the population is served in the military. So the higher you go, the less people care about helping us. You just look at the issue with how much money's gone to illegal aliens for housing versus how much is coming to veterans. They are actually, illegal aliens have access to some of the VA facilities around the nation, which they shouldn't be.
Oh gosh.
And we know the VA system's broke to begin with, so it's like, why don't we fix what we got to do?
Yeah.
But it's got to change. It's got to change, because right now we've even tried to go to the state attorney general to get standing, because the issue is, if we want to sue the VA for medical malpractice, we need to have this. We're trying to get Chris Carr's organization to say you have standing as a member of the state of Georgia. We were told we don't have standing, and that the VA is immune from prosecution. So we're like going. So we've had veterans that have been maimed by the VA. We've had veterans that have been, not taken care of by the VA, and there's nothing we can do because nobody wants to turn around and say, let's challenge it and go from there. So we're kind of figuring out who do we belong to if we don't belong to the county, the state yet. We said, let's take it a different route. We try to figure out now, we're working on this as a project, is how much value does the veteran community bring to the state? Last quarter of last year, veterans bought 66,000 cars, brand new cars. How much did that push up the economy going forward? How many houses do veterans own? We have 16,000 veterans here. How many of them have own houses, pay taxes? So we're trying to put together and saying this is in the number one industry in the state of Georgia, revenue-wise, federal government.
Wow.
Because you got Fort Benning, you got Fort Moore,
Fort Stewart.
Fort Stewart, you got Augusta, you got the Air Force Base. So why is it we're not getting our portion of the listening? And again, going back to the issue with the state, the 39-day legislative process does not make it enough for us to get time to get things in there. That's why we're starting now, so that when the issues and eggs starts in January, we're ready to go with some of the legislation we need to get through.
Well, this sounds like a lie, but I watched this couple. He was a Vietnam vet. I watched them try to prove that he had been in Vietnam. The military couldn't find where he had been in Vietnam, but they come in with boxes of letters that he wrote her from Vietnam, and it documented his time there. He didn't get the benefits he needed. He died from Agent Orange. And I said, how could this possibly happen in America? They couldn't find that he had been in Vietnam, and thank God Faye saved shoeboxes full of letters from him. And I'm like, excuse me? This is the proof. And they said, but we can't track you because we don't see where you were in Vietnam.
Right. There's another one. We've had 3 or 4 vets that we've dealt with here that have belonged to Delta Force that were tied to the CIA. So back in the early 80s when
you weren't supposed to be where you were.
They took, after we invaded and took care of Panama, we sent several sniper teams down to South America. One of the teams, we had a guy we were working with, mental health, major issues. He was part of a team of 12 that went in, 4 came out.
Wow.
You can't find his information because what happens is you go from JSOC, which is up in Fayetteville, it goes to the CIA. CIA doesn't track your time. We have a doctor who was part of that team. We had to fight to get his benefits because they couldn't verify his time in service because the CIA's got it. And we went to Loudermilk's office and said, here's what goes on. And then there's a thing called Title 10 where these guys will get medals for what goes on, but it's not Title 10 is an off-the-books war. So it could have been Kosovo or something like that. And that medal does not get added to your system because it's not during the wartime.
Wow.
This is the kind of stuff we run into every day.
Yeah, shouldn't be happening in America. Yeah. And when we look at our chances of getting help, it depends on who you vote for. It depends on who listens to you. It's not about, and it's just like right now, okay, Congress is going to get a paycheck.
Yes.
We're not going to get the EBT money. The vets aren't going to get their money. Thank goodness one man donated $130 million who paid our military. But had he not done that, the military wouldn't have been paid. But now we have to look at Congress is going to cash their paychecks. Well, I'm like, non-sufficient funds. I would just write them a check and say, sorry, there's no money in the bank. You can't cash your check until you get your act together. So there's no point in facing what Cherokee County is facing, what North Georgia is facing. Now, I want to ask you about the Veterans event that happened when they opened the new facility in Jasper. It's helping people don't have to go all the way to Atlanta now for some services.
It is helping, but so the facility down in Jasper was designed to handle 2,300 veterans. Within 50 miles of that, there's over 40,000 veterans.
Right.
So the problem you get into is, and we ran into a couple of situations down there where there was a doctor down there who decided he's going to retire or he's going to leave the military to go. That spot stayed frozen for months, so they couldn't have anybody in there to get stuff. They've got mental health facilities there that doesn't want to interact with our team, and we're trying to figure out why. We've gone all the way to DC saying, what gives, guys? We're helping veterans out here. And we had one time we had a 24-hour suicide watch for 5 veterans. 3 of those were controlled by were also being with the VA here, but they wouldn't interact with us. And we're like going, what is going on here?
Yeah,
but,
working together.
Yeah, together.
Yeah.
But again, the services up here are, we're great, we have it. But, you start looking at what's out there, and nobody wants to go down to Decatur. It's too far. The traffic's terrible.
It is.
And the service down there is not good. But, we're that's one of the reasons we're putting the pressure on, on
well,
Congress.
If it's broken, we have the ability to fix it.
I spent time in the healthcare industry, in the corporate world, and looking at things that can be done. You've got directors of hospital. The director of the Atlanta hospital down here, Vision 7, he's a psychologist. He has no background in hospital administration.
Wow.
So you think of, Billy Hayes up here in Northside. You look at other ones. These guys do this as a living, got the training for it.
That's what we need.
Down there, it's all about, well, you look back, the gentleman the employee of the VA who struck the Vietnam vet, he's back at work.
Wow.
Because, and you can go online and do this. If you go online, Google 2011, the collective bargaining agreement for the Veterans Administration. It's like 495 pages. 4 of those pages deal with termination. You cannot terminate a union employee. They can sit there and wait 6 months to challenge it. They can, have it expunged from their record after 6 months. And you're like going, how the heck does that happen?
Yeah.
These guys, he should have been arrested and brought, but no, he now gets to go back to work because he waited out his time and makes
It's
no
a
sense.
long story, but there's
I can
somebody.
go over.
I know.
You deal with it 11
You
years
hear
like I
it
have.
every day. You hear it every day.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things it's inexcusable. So call your congressman, call your legislators, but before you do that, go to your closet and say, Sherry, we've got some coats. Can we bring them to you? Can you pick them up? Can we do this? Get your church involved. Get your Sunday school class involved. If one Sunday school class out of every church that we serve brings us coats, then that gives coats for the veterans. And again, the number in Cherokee County is 16,000.
16,000. There's we go by. You can Google it. Go to the 2024 census. That's where the number comes from. That's where because that's the only number we can verify it from. And then it's a 90% value, so you try to figure out, plus or minus there. But we think it's over that. But we'd like to find all of them. There's actually 308 veteran businesses in Cherokee County, and we
That's
have a list of
awesome.
those. So it's like veterans are here. They're your neighbor. They're living born. You go down the street, you see the license plate. It's one of those.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love if you're in a restaurant and you have the ability to do this and you see a veteran sitting there having a meal, pick up their check. It's that simple. Pick up their check. What's it going to hurt you? Pick up their check. They picked up a lot for us. They did a lot for us. And so we're approaching Veterans Day, and we want to remind you, put out your flag, be proud. God bless the USA. God bless the USA. And together we can make it better. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's amazing the years that you have accomplished what you have and the wars that you fought to get there.
Yeah,
So,
and if you want to find more about what we do, go to Cherokee County homelessveterans.com. You'll find it in Google. You'll see the things we do, the events out there. And again, everything we do is funded, and our money stays within the counties we support. We don't send money down to Atlanta. We don't send money else. Everything we do, we promise, is going to support Cherokee County. Now, as a service officer, I'll help somebody in another county if they need it on claims and things. But we want to build, because the goal here is we wanted to change the view of veterans, because everybody has it. Is an old guy sitting at an American Legion or a VFW bar, smoking cigars, telling war stories. We want these people to know that we're out here to help people in the community. It's all about outreach. Post 45 doesn't have a bar.
There you go.
It used to be a dry county. But,
there you go.
But we do the programs to do outreach to find out. And again, if you need help, help us, because right now we've been involved in 28 evictions this year alone. We've been able to solve 25 of the 28. 3, it came to us too late, we couldn't do it. But we have ways of working with other organizations all the way up to New York and Washington, D.C. to help get funding.
Wow.
But we just solved one that was, a family needed $6,600
And you did
ordered
it.
about evicted. So we will do whatever it takes to get these guys back on the street.
Don't forget, our veterans, they served us and we should serve them. We'll see you again soon on ETC. Bye, y'all.